Peace, 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 peace. Welcome back to the You and I Verse All Simple for the sun, planets, moon, and stars. I'll be your Lord of Hosts, Lord Messiah. And today, we got the clipboard today, you know what I'm saying? And we're going into some sciences, right? So the first science I want to get into, like you see the title above, right? It's called Consensus Voting. Now, the last video I did was called So They Have Agreed, and I was talking about how, you know, it's hard for us to agree because there's so many of us, and, you know, it's kind of like almost impossible for us to all agree on one particular thing because there's so many people with so many, you know, different diverse things. You know, so even though we all say we have one mind and one plane of thought, but individually we do not have the same mind, otherwise we all be robots. So the reality is that we all have different minds, different thoughts, different ways of seeing things. And this is why we say, how do you see today's mathematics? And this, acknowledge this, right? Let's say, for example, right, just hypothetically speaking, if today's mathematics was knowledge, right? If it were the first, right? It's the 12th, but if it were the first, right? And I said, and it was 3 people in the cipher, right? And somebody said, yo, guys, how y'all see today's mathematics, right? The older guy came in sight. He asked 3 younger guys, how y'all see today's mathematics? And the first guy said, I see today's mathematics as, knowledge being the basic foundation of all things in existence. And then the other guy said, I see knowledge as being the basic foundation of all things in existence. And then the third guy said, I see knowledge as being the basic foundation of all things in existence. They just all said the same thing. Like, what are y'all, robots? Y'all all parrots? Now, let's spin it around and see a different situation. The older guy comes to the cipher and he says, now these are educated guys, those who have their own self-styled wisdom, the way the Father taught us to have, right? And the older guy says, yo, peace to the gods, how y'all see today's mathematics? And the first guy says, I see today's mathematics as knowledge, the base foundation of all things in existence. Then the second guy says, I see knowledge as the original man who is the foundation of his family. Then the third God says, I see knowledge as the sun, which is a foundation of the solar system. It shines light of information to enlighten those around them, right? Now, those are 3 different, manifestations. And they all right, because they all manifest what knowledge is. They all gave different definitions or manifestations of how they define knowledge. They all didn't sound like parrots quoting the same thing. See what I'm saying? So that just shows and proves how we all have different diverse, ways of expressing things, because we all supposed to have self-styled wisdom. So in that self-styled wisdom, we're going to have diversity. Wisdom is the way, as we say. So anyway, let me get to the clipboard, right? And let's bring, and look, y'all can see this, right? Because everything I'm going to read is directly on the paper. We ain't making up nothing. We ain't, So anyway, consensus voting. What is consensus voting? Let's deal with that, right? So consensus voting is a decision-making process. Oh, what is that? A decision-making process. Is that a process where you make decisions? Oh, okay. Let's continue. A decision-making process, deliberation and agreement. A decision-making process of deliberation and agreement where no party disagrees, but that difference of opinion, interests, and perspectives are allowed to influence the eventual outcome of a matter. See? The eventual outcome of a matter. Presents it for consideration and passage, right? During a particular, setting. So, for example, if we come before the parliament and people just get up there and freestyle, and if it sounds good, we just go with it, that's not consensus voting. Consensus voting, once again, is a decision-making process of deliberation and agreement. So deliberation means we deliberate things, go through different matters, see, the pros and cons, and agreement. After that, come to an agreement. We don't do that agree to disagree nonsense. Where no party disagrees, but that difference of opinion, interests, and perspectives are allowed to influence the eventual outcome of the matter, presented for consideration and passage at a particular meeting. So, and those meetings being our parliament. So at our parliament, if we started implementing consensus voting, I think that we would actually, I know that we will actually be able to come to a conclusion after the deliberation and agreement takes place. Because we always talking about, we have to agree, God, we all got to agree. But if nobody ever comes together, sits down and read anything and do the knowledge to things, how do we agree on something we have no knowledge of? You can't agree on something you have no knowledge of. So for example, right, I'll talk about particular entities and so forth I'm trying to build. One, and not even an entity, but the Declaration for Adverse Possession. In order for me to go and find that, if I go and find that by myself, and I come to the nation, y'all, I found the Declaration of Adverse Possession. Who told you could do that by yourself? But when I call and I say, guys, we got to have a meeting, whoever's competent enough to come to the meeting, sit down and deliberate and come to an agreement, we need to do that. Nobody ever comes and sits down at no table and make no agreement. So therefore, the competent ones among us who actually are about that life, who actually are about nation building, we have to come together and make a decision for the rest of the people that's just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. Because otherwise, all we're doing is wasting time searching for that which does not exist in these lazy people, man. Because that's basically what it all boils down to, man. Irresponsible and lazy people, man. I asked a question in the parliament, who wants to uplift their nation? Who wants to elevate that? Ain't nobody raised their hand. No, one person, one of the older gods, and he was halfway embarrassed to even be in agreement with me. Come on now. That's not consensus voting. See, so we don't have no type of process where we're actually coming to an agreement. So it seems like it's just an Illuminati effect going on, where it's just an elite who's before us who makes all the decisions, and everybody who's just coming to church to listen to what the gods are doing, they just sit back and acquiesce. And the reason why I say coming to church, because when you go to church, what do people do? You sit there and you listen to preacher preach about what God is doing or what God did. So if you're coming to a parliament and you're supposed to be the original man sitting in that audience, you're a god too. But if you're not adding on to what the gods are doing and what they're talking about, and they're even asking for assistance and you're not assisting, then you're just there in church listening to what God is doing. And this particular God just happens to be the original man, which you are too. You're a god too, but you ain't doing nothing. That's why I say you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs. So you've been coming to parliaments just as long as I've been coming to parliaments. I've been coming to parliaments for like 20-something years now. And just in the past couple of years, I've been getting up there to build. You know what I'm saying? So these guys been sitting in that, it's been guys sitting in the audience longer than me. And they never get up there to build. You see what I'm saying? So what are you afraid of? But yet you want to put it on me, talking about, not me specifically, but in general, talking to those younger than you, telling them, you got to build, God, you got to show and prove, you got to add on, you got to do something for this nation. And then when you actually go and do that, people start hating on you for actually doing that. So anyway, man, let me get back to the clipboard, right? So what else we got on the clipboard today, man, in today's lesson plan? So we got we got the definition of international law, because Lord Messiah is always coming to these parliaments talking about international law. What is he talking about? What is international law? So let's deal with what is international law. Okay, by definition, not something I'm just making up on my own freestyle what I want it to be or what I think it is. No, I'm gonna tell you exactly what it is. So international law, one of the definitions, multiple definitions, look it up. One I got right here is a system of treaties and agreements between nations that govern how nations interact with other nations, citizens of other nations, and businesses of other nations. I'm gonna read that back again because that was so powerful. Wow, that was really defines a whole lot. It says international law is a system of treaties and agreements between nations that governs how nations interact with other nations, citizens of other nations, and businesses of other nations. So for example, right, I presented before the parliament one of the entities that I drew up, and we got the whole contract, the whole franchise agreement drawn up. It's called the Multinational, Allow You Justice, Multinational Franchise Agreement. So this multinational franchise agreement, a law you justice states multinational franchise agreement, is going to be an agreement that allows us to interact with other nations, citizens of other nations, and businesses of other nations. It's a multinational franchise as to where our symbol being the corporate symbol on the franchise, and a law you justice states multinational franchise will be the name. We can license as the franchisors. We can license that franchise name out to a franchisee who will now work under that label, and the money that they make off of the products that we sell under that franchise agreement, we will get a percentage from the franchisee who's doing business under the franchise name. See what I'm saying? So it's kind of like licensing out your name, and we got license agreements drawn up and all of that. I'm the contract king. This is what I do. You know what I'm saying? I took the time to go on lawdepot.com, free legal documents, and take the time to give myself a damn couple weeks to months study in law, learning all the legal terms, looking up the contracts, reading the contracts, learning all the legal terms and what they mean and all of that. Now I know how to make contracts from scratch. Know how to put clauses and all of that in there. Bylaws, all that good shit. You know what I'm saying? So come on now, educate yourself, man. You ain't got to go to Harvard to learn something and pay them $50,000 to learn some shit. You could go on the internet and educate yourself nowadays. Then you sit down and educate yourself with 120. So why the fuck you got to go to college? You ain't have to go to college for that, right? Pardon my language, but you ain't have to go to college for that, right? So now when it comes to international law, did you get a course? Did you take a course for that? Did you go to school for that? Did you validate yourself by the white man's standards to come here and tell us this? No, Negro, this is qualified by the world standards. It's called international law. So let me read it again. What is international law? International law is a system of treaties and agreements between nations. Pause right there. You mean to tell me that the Nation of Islam, the Nation of Gaza Earth, the Nuwapian Nation, the Nation of Israel, the whatever other nations in the so-called black communities, we can't come together and have a system of treaties or agreements between those nations? And those treaties and agreements between those nations will govern how those nations interact with each other? Oh, you know how that's done? It's called an international organization, which is also drawn up. It's called a Law U Justice Estates, a Law World Manifest International Organization. And it says treaties, right? We also have a Law World Manifest Intergovernmental Organization, which is based on the UN Treaty for Peace, Freedom, Justice, and Equality. That's going to be the treaty that the Intergovernmental Organization is functioning off of, which is a treaty or an agreement between nations that govern how nations interact with each other and other nation and other with other nations and citizens of a nation and businesses of a nation. So the multinational franchise will be the business from our nation, a large 5% nation state, that we as a franchisers will create a license agreement to license out our products, whatever that gross domestic product is or national domestic product is, and they will make money off of that, and we will get a percentage off of every sale that they make. You know what I'm saying? Or they could pay upfront fee to use the name and do whatever, they make their own money or whatever, but they pay the upfront fee for the business name to do business under that franchise name. So this is how we show our relation. Also this qualifies Section D of statehood for us, which is the capacity to enter into relations with other states. So you see what I'm saying? Like, I drew up all these entities, and they all work hand in hand with each other. They all show and prove each other, man. I made an intricate labyrinth of a government structure for the nation. And all niggas got to do is ask goofy ass questions and start hating because you ain't do it. And you realize now how fluently I'm speaking about this. Like, damn, you put together a whole lot. We got to sit down and learn all of this. Yeah, the same way I did. Yeah, you got to learn. Like, come on, man. Niggas be acting ignorant. Like, how else you going to get the information? What you want me to teach? You want me to think for you? I already did that. I thought for the whole nation and put together a whole government structure for y'all. What else you want me to do? And I can only fill one position I can fill a position on a couple of boards, but only one position on a few boards. I can't fill every position on every board. And I got like damn near 10 boards in place, more than that. So come on now, we need like at least 50 people to step up and be a man or be a woman and take some responsibility. So you can elevate your nation. Like that's what it's about, man. It ain't about y'all making 1,001 excuses and being cowards and afraid to do something, man. I'm tired of the excuses, man. So anyway, let's go into self-determination. The inherent right of all people to freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. I'm gonna read that again. Self-determination is the inherent right of all people, no matter your color, race, creed, all people, to freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. So guess what, the nation of gods of earth, we have the right to self-determination. What is that? Once again, the inherent right. That's called a God-given right, a universal right, a natural right, however you want to, put it. An inherent right of all people to freely determine their political status and to pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Now, we've been pursuing our cultural development because we've been living out a culture for all this time, and we've been so-called dealing with social equality. What do we say social equality means? Social means to advocate a group of men or a society of men for one common cause, and equality means to be equal in everything. That sounds like self-determination to me. So why don't we advocate a group of men or a society of men to freely determine our political status and freely pursue our economic, social, and cultural development? We can't advocate a group of men or society of men to do that. Now, the cultural part, we've been doing that for like 60 years. We've been doing that. We got that down packed. The social, economic, and political part, that's the parts we need to be focusing on. We got culture down packed. We got that. We got that. You see the flag? We got that. We got that down pat. Politics, social, economics. Okay? That's what's next on the agenda. We know the culture. We got the culture. We know supreme mathematics. We know the lessons. We got that. Okay? So now, had we been applying these aspects, a lot of the gods might have not lost your earth. She might not have left you. For the 85er who was focusing on politics, economics. You know what I'm saying? And even though he didn't have the knowledge of self or whatever, he may not have had the culture, but as far as the longevity of what the earth needs, because the earth deals with tangible things, God. She needs tangible things for the survival of her and the babies. That's what a lot of us are having focused on. That's why we lost our earth. Just keeping it real. Now that we're older and wiser, but it's too late for that wisdom to kick in because she's gone now. So now the things that we learning as we get older, we can't even apply it because she's not around. She's not there now. So now we got to go to the white man's court systems and try to get back with your kids to try to salvage a relationship with them. That's what we left at, gods, because we didn't establish our politics, our economics, and social. We didn't advocate a group of men or society of men for one common cause. Don't you know a society of men was called jurisprudence? Jurisprudence is laws based on a society of men. It's laws that they like courts, a Jewish court and all of that. That's based on their society. The Torah, they use the Torah as their actual law. So don't you know we could use supreme mathematics, supreme alphabet as a form of justice, and it can become our jurisprudence. That's the legal term for it. Okay? Did you not know that? And we're already doing that. What we need to do is take what we're doing, use the proper legal terms, put it down on paper, and now we have actual administration to govern ourselves by. And it's written in paper just like we got the lessons written on paper. So now if we ever got to refer back to the rule book, it's on paper, it's written down. So niggas ain't part of stuff, brothers and sisters ain't doing stuff that's now cipher, and we gotta physically get into altercations over stuff. No, we got a rule book. We got the rules written down. It's called a constitution. It's called a declaration. It's called a treaty. It's called an international agreement. It's called a charter. These are things that nations use to govern themselves. In case y'all didn't know. Okay, so we say what we teach. We say part 5 in power degree in what we teach. We say education should be fashioned to enable us to be self-sufficient as a people. Education should be fashioned to enable us to be self-sufficient as people. So if we fashion our education as to say we just poor righteous teachers, God, we just out here on the block teaching people knowledge, and then turn around and ask them for $1. Come on, man. You know how that sounds to the people you just dropped all that knowledge on? This nigga just dropped all this universal knowledge on me, taught me about everything in the universe and the sun, moon, star, and da-da-da-da, and then just turn around and ask me for $1. How RZA said in his rhyme, he said, there used to be a old man in the building who used to tell stories to the children, but never had $1 to keep his pockets building. He bombed me on Deuteronomy, the science of astronomy, but didn't know the basic principles about economy. I said a wise man don't play the role of a fool. The first thing a man must obtain is 12 jewels. Come on now. How you going, in this day and age, in this world, how you going to obtain those 12 jewels without money, without economics? And we wait till we get 50, 60 years old to figure that shit out. And by then, like I said, your earth done left you, your family's gone, life done went on, and you done missed your whole happiness in your pursuit of happiness. So are we really the fathers of civilization out here? Or did we miss that opportunity? Or did we mess up that opportunity due to our lack of maturity? See, I'm man enough to admit that. But you got guys running around here want to act like everything is all good, and everything is all good, and ain't no mistakes they done made, and ain't nothing they gotta correct, and they don't gotta create their own court system to get out of the hell you going through of child support and all that other shit through the devil's court system, because you ain't got your own. See what I'm saying? And you can't handle your own family matters because you ain't got your own family court. We used to go to the elders in our family to handle situations. Do we do that anymore? No. Your baby mom run down to the white man court system. She called the police on you and shit like that. See what I'm saying? But anyway, we want to keep going through that love, or excuse me, that hell. Ain't no love there, but we want to keep going through that hell and thinking somehow it's just going to get right one day. How they say you either love hell or get it right. You know what I'm saying? Or rather I say, you know what I'm saying, if you love hell, you're never going to get it right. You know what I'm saying? You could love hell or you could get it right. You know what I'm saying? So what is nationhood? Nationhood, the fact or status of being a nation, national identity or independence. Hold on, y'all. Let me put my power saver on, which I should have did a minute ago. My shit on 1%, y'all. Damn. That might have saved me. Alright, I hope that saved me. Alright, so it says nationhood, the fact or status of being a nation, national identity or independence. Now, as far as nationhood, we can show the fact or status of being a nation, but can we show actual national identity like the God was building at the last parliaments about having nationality cards or national identification cards? Or independence? You know what I'm saying? Are we at the point where we're independent as a nation? Or are we still saying we a nation within a nation? Yeah, we still saying that because we're not independent. And we don't even fathom independence because we don't even study. We never even looked up the definition. We don't even put that in our brain and start thinking that and projecting those thoughts in the universe. And then, as we know, the power of the mind, it'll manifest. So think about if all the gods started actually getting up on all this international law stuff that I posted on my page, on my YouTube, on my Facebook and all that, actually started reading it and start projecting these thoughts in the universe with the powers of our minds, then the shit might actually manifest just off the power of, just off the strength of our thoughts. But if we ain't thinking the right things, if we thinking we poor righteous teachers and the devil is in control of everything and he keeping his foot on our neck and there's nothing we could do, man, you ain't gonna manifest nothing. So anyway, that's why I come with the definition of be or born. This is how I see be or born. Be or born, I said be is to exist as a nation within a nation, like people keep saying, subject to the laws of that jurisdiction, in the absence of your own. Born is to come out of her and declare political independence as a nation state. Let me read that again. That was so eloquently manifest by your righteous brother, Lord Messiah. I said be or born. Be is to exist as a nation within a nation, subject to the laws of that jurisdiction, in the absence of your own. Born is to come out of her and declare political independence as a nation state. So in a nutshell, this is what I'm talking about when I be coming to the parliaments. Be or born. Be, once again, is to exist as a nation within a nation, like we be saying, what you've been hearing for all these years. We a nation within a nation. So you just be, that means you never gonna be born if you keep thinking that way. You're gonna be, which is to exist as a nation within a nation, subject to the laws of that jurisdiction. That's why the police can pull you over, ask you for your ID and say, nigga, get up, put your hands on the hood. You know what I'm saying? In the absence of your own. Born is to come out of her, not come out of jail talking some knowledge shit. You know what I'm saying? Born is to come out of her and declare political independence as a nation state. So that means come from out of their jurisdiction, declare your own jurisdiction through your own statehood. Because through your statehood, you have your own jurisdiction within the defined territory that you have that permanent population, and you exercise your government and you show your capacity to enter into relations with other states. And what is the relation? The fact that I got my own nation state, y'all got your own nation state, and we respect each other's jurisdictions. That's the relation. It ain't got to be no chummy, we rubbing elbows, but the relation is we respect each other due to international law. It's called the conservation of peace, the international conservation of peace. So y'all got to learn these terms. When y'all learn these terms, then y'all start to see the things the way I'm seeing it. Not saying you got to think like me, but I'm saying expand your thoughts, man. Stop thinking on that lower level you've been thinking, because obviously you ain't thinking like this. Expand your horizon, man. Stop thinking so miniature, and stop thinking so, like I say, like you just be as a nation within a nation, subject to the laws of that jurisdiction. That's the way we think. And then people will tell you, oh, study civics, study civics. Studying civics is just learning how governments work. You ain't learned that shit, man. Come on. You don't remember Schoolhouse Rock? They was telling you about, but today I am still just a bill. You know what I'm saying? They taught you about bills. They taught you about how the three branches of government, all of that shit, man. As a kid, we learned that stuff, man. Come on, man. And you went to school and learned it too. 11th grade political science. Did you not pay attention? You forgot? Come on, man. And you've been watching TV, man. Politics, political debates, and all that shit for years, man. Stop acting like y'all don't know this stuff, man. Y'all know how it works in their system, but you can't make it work in your own system. This is why Dr. John Henry Clark said, when your enemy is your deity, you are obviously in slavery. I'm going to say it again. When your enemy is your deity, you are obviously in slavery. So the white man who you claim is your enemy, he's obviously your deity, which shows and proves that you are still in mental slavery. Because when it comes to independence, when it comes to governance, when it comes to nation building, you think only he can do that. You think only he's allowed to do that. You think you can only do something unless he give you the okay to do it. That's why I talk about city science, social science, and high science. If y'all ever read that plus degree, or that jewel where they talk about that. They talk about 3 different sciences: city science, social science, and high science. City science is dealing with the city. Like I say, you go to the city, you get a permit, open up an LLC, you start up a little business, a little a non-for-profit organization. In case y'all didn't know, a law school in Mecca is labeled under a M9 miscellaneous religious facility. In case y'all didn't know, go on the Department of Finance and look it up. It's public information. Ain't no secrets. Public information. So in case y'all didn't know that, and a law school in Mecca is under 501c3 for religious organizations. Didn't the Father say we're not a religion? Now say, for God the Father didn't teach that. Who did that? Who turned a law school into a non-profit for religious organizations so they could put it under a tax exemption status? And under that tax exemption status, did y'all know that the clauses state specifically, verbatim, that the members cannot speak on or deal in, or cannot speak on or participate in political activities? So you know what that means? No Allah 5% nation state. You can't form a state, because a state is a political body. A state has a political jurisdiction. A state is function through politics. So guess what, y'all? You can't have no politics because your school has been compromised, and all the older gods in your nation have been compromised because they're under some board that's under a 501c3 for religious non-profit organizations, which gets a tax exemption status, which may allow them to send some of their kids to college or something like that. So you then sold out the nation for your own personal gain. Period. Those are the 10% in the nation. So when I talk about there's an 85%, a 10%, and a 5% within the 5%, now you know who that 10% is. Period. Now, is that to say that some of them are wicked people or evil in heart, or they had negative intentions? I'm not saying that, but I will say that you are well aware of what you are doing as far as compromising the school and the so-called sovereign status that we could have had you not compromised it in that way. Or the fact that we could have formulated a state which has its own sovereign capacity had you not compromised our school, thus the nation, in that way. So I can sit up here and talk about all of this shit for the next 20,000 parliaments till the sun come up and the sun come down and the sun go down, or whatever the case may be. And nothing will ever prevail because of the compromisation, the compromise. People been compromised, and the school has legally been compromised. So that means you're going to have to go outside of that and build. So all of that, you got to get the like-mind people. All the people that been telling me that, are you a like-mind? Because if not, man, stop telling me that shit, man. Because obviously that ain't you. You ain't the said person to that ability. So what do you keep telling me that for? You know what I'm saying? As a distraction because of the fact that you know you ain't that person to that ability. But anyway, let's get back to the clipboard, to the lesson plan of the day. What else I got on here, right? Okay, so we also got, now a nation at end. So my definition of that, because I'm rewriting my whole alphabet, and I'm rewriting lessons and all that. Not that I'm gonna pass them around and be like, oh, y'all need to know. No, but for my own book of life. You know what I'm saying? I'm restructuring the way I see things, because a lot of people have been indoctrinated, and I know how to renew my history. That's just me. I ain't saying that's what you got to do, but that's just me. So anyway, in the renewing of my history and my mind and how I see now a nation, due to the knowledge that I got now, I say now is the present time for the Asiatic nation of original people to declare their nationality as a nation state, or it will be their end, or it will be an end of their sovereignty by continuing to compromise a law school in Mecca as a non-for-profit for religious organizations. I literally got that. Under IRS code 501c3. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, man. If we don't declare ourselves as a nation state, we're going to continue to be compromised under 501c3 for religious non-tax status, tax-exempt status for non-profit religious organizations. Meanwhile, they'll get up there and keep telling you, the Father said we're not a religion. The Father said we're not a religion. We're not a religion. Okay. We're not? So why every parliament seem like church? We just come there to listen about what God is doing. Because ain't nobody helping God do nothing. Every God come up there talk about, his plan and what he's doing and da-da-da-da-da. Where's the assistance? Who's helping? Who's assisting God? Oh, okay. See? Because although we claim to have knowledge of self, you still got a lot of Christian-minded gods, man. Brothers that think like Christians. And they sitting around worshiping the man Allah just like people worship the man Jesus. See what I'm saying? And instead of realizing that when Jesus said, that when y'all come together, that's the body. You know what I'm saying? So what did the Father say? If y'all ever want to see me, all y'all got to do is what? Come together. And he wasn't just talking about a parliament or a cookout where you're going to get a plate of food, spit some mathematics and sound good and go back home. What he was talking about? He was talking about really come together, arm, leg, arm, head, and form like Voltron. See what I'm saying? With a political, with a body politic, a government. That's what a body politic is. You know what I'm saying? So brothers want to talk about they building and we talk about nation business and all of that. Without politics, what kind of nation business are you doing? Let me go back to the definition of self-determination. It said the inherent right of all people to freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. So if we're not pursuing our political, social, economic, and cultural developments, then what are we doing? We're just talking and sounding good. And we keep saying this, we got to watch what we say up here. The world is watching us. Once again, for whoever may be watching this video, which I know ain't many because y'all don't like to hear the truth. Y'all like to hear some entertainment shit. And y'all like to sit on Facebook and talk about Fat Joe saying the word nigga all day. You know what I'm saying? So-called brothers that got knowledge of self. But that's what y'all spend y'all day talking about. But anyway, when it comes to talk about this right here, oh man, what's that? Come on, man. So, anyway, man, I'm going to land my plane on this, man. My definition of peace, how I break it down, I say political education allows colonial emancipation, right? Now, why do I break it down like that? Because political education allows colonial emancipation. So in case we didn't know, so-called black people in America are still a colonized people. Just because the United States of America decolonized from Britain does not mean that so-called Negroes have decolonized from the United States. That's what you gotta understand. So we are still a colonized people. So how do you decolonize? Well, when you start to learn political education, when you start to educate yourself politically, you start to learn about decolonization, which is obviously the opposite of colonization. What is decolonization? Decolonization is when an area, a group of people, an entity, what have you, becomes politically independent from the prior colonization that it was experiencing. So, for example, and there's many forms of colonization or many forms of decolonization. There's political decolonization, there's mental decolonization, there's social decolonization, there's emotional decolonization, economic decolonization. You know what I'm saying? There's many forms of decolonization. And one of the major ones is mental decolonization. Because we are mentally colonized. Like I said, we think that only Caucasians can run businesses. We think only Caucasians can exercise governments. We think only Caucasians can have jails. We think only Caucasians can have courts. We think only Caucasians can exercise justice. See what I'm saying? We are mentally colonized to think that only these people and other races of people can do this. But we as a people somehow can't do this. Why do we not know this? Because we have not been studying international law, which is a law among nations. And nations are built from people who freely determine their political, economic, social, and cultural development and political status. See what I'm saying? This is how nations are formed. So if the Father Allah never left the temple and said, yo, I'm going to go out here and teach this knowledge to the babies, to the youth in the streets, and I'm going to form from them the 5% nation. If he never had that self-determination to go out there and do it and make it manifest, and then have the 9 born assist him in what his plan was to do, then we wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be having this big ass flag on my shirt representing this nation. And if I didn't go and educate myself politically, I wouldn't have all these entities in this government structure that I developed to elevate this nation to a nation state. And through that nation state, we can politically determine our status freely. And we can freely pursue our social, cultural, economic development. Do you see the purpose of all of this? This is the reason for this. You understand? This is a nice little clipboard right here, man. This is some powerful information right here. So, political education will allow us to colonially, or to rather say, let me just say it right here. Political education allows colonial emancipation. So through political education, that will allow us to decolonize ourselves. How even Bob Marley said, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. See what I'm saying? Come on, man. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. It ain't just the 85% that's slaves to a mental death and power. Obviously, when I'm bringing forth this information to the 5%, we sitting around here acting like we slaves to a mental death and power. Like we don't got the power to make this happen. We got to ask 1,001 questions because we don't make knowledge power and go and do the knowledge. I told y'all the source of the information. How many times will I have to tell you the source of the information before you actually go there and do the knowledge? How many times? How many parliaments? How many months have to go by before you get out of your comfort zone and stop being afraid to go and educate yourself in something other than 120? And like I said, when you go back and watch these prior videos I did before this, when I'm breaking down about statehood in the 1 to 10, statehood in the 1 to 14, you know, I kind of did it out of order, but I corrected it wherever. Statehood in the 1 to 36, and I'm about to go into statehood in the 1 to 40, you know what I'm saying? But I'm taking my time on that because, you know, it's a lot of degrees, and you know, I got to do a lot of studying on that. So anyway, that's coming soon. So, like, come on now. But this consensus voting right here, y'all, this was powerful right here. This is what I need to say before the parliament, minus the cursing. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you got to throw a couple curses in there because people got to feel you, man. We deal with vibrations, man. And sometimes when you speak all nice and polite and all intelligent and all the words that maybe some people don't understand, and, oh, he sounds like a nerd, man. Well, man, I ain't no nerd, man. I can't get with all of that. You better get with something, goddammit. Because you look around you, goddammit, everybody else is nationalizing besides your black ass. You want to think it's cool to call yourself black. And since we are the original people genetically, everything we do, we the cool people, so everybody gonna follow us, and we just get content by being the world's entertainment. Man, stop that bullshit, man. You better wake the fuck up. And this is another thing too, we got a knowledge too about so-called black people and why we gotta stop using that term, because yeah, we make it socially cool for everybody that has melanin to call themselves black. But at the same time, and this is not to cause no confusion or whatever, or no, you know, division or whatever. But these are just facts, and I've been observing it. You know what I'm saying? Our brothers from Jamaica or Trinidad or Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic and so forth, or Haiti or what have you, they may have melanin and dark skin and all of that, and we socially accept them as being black and all of that. But ask them when they get on that plane and travel back to their country where they actually have a flag and a constitution and laws that protect them and an actual nationality. Their passport don't say black. That shit say Dominican Republic. It says Republic of Haiti. It says Jamaica. It says Trinidad. It says whatever, what have you. That shit don't say black, because there's no country called black land. Okay? So while you socially accept the term black, there's no political status to the term black. This is why even in the white people's government, which y'all sit back here and worship and think they're going to do something for you, you got what's called the Black Caucus. Do you know a caucus is something that's dead? And if you know that black in legal terminology, dealing with civil little mortuus, means dead in the eyes of the law. So the Black Caucus is the dead. Like if you want to, make the word synonymous, it's like saying the dead or the dead body. So the Black Caucus is the politically dead body. The politically dead body that will never get anything done for you. In fact, I think the Black Caucus was the party under John Conyers back in 2014 when they passed the HR, or tried to pass the HR 40, which was supposed to be for reparations for so-called African Americans. Why ain't y'all never get y'all reparations? Because it was done through a political party called the the Black Caucus, the dead body. And you wonder why nothing ever came alive out of that? Come on, man. I gotta start paying attention to words. This is not word semantics. This is educating yourself on the definitions of words. Like I just read these definitions. I ain't freestyle and make up what I wanted it to be. I read the actual definition and then I built off of that. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I gave you the knowledge to let you know what it is. I expounded with my wisdom, and hopefully the understanding is born in its own good time. You know what I'm saying? Do you hope to live to see the day when the gods will take the devil into hell in the very near future? Yes, I fast and pray Allah that I live to see the hereafter when Allah in his own good time takes the devil off our planet. What Allah is they talking about? Because if that Allah ain't the man that you see in the mirror, ain't no mystery Allah gonna make that happen. So you better wake your ass up and make something happen, man. You better stop that mystery Allah. Ain't no mystery God and ain't no mystery Allah. So just because you left the Bible and you realize ain't no mystery Allah, ain't no mystery God, don't start reading the Quran and thinking it's a mystery Allah. You better know your mathematics and realize that 7th degree, who you are. Because otherwise it ain't happening. And now, and even if you want to say, well, individually you are God, but collectively we Allah. Okay, well then let's come together collectively. Because that's what we need to be, what we need to do. Other than that, all that, Allah is God, always has been, always will be. Before that degree, before that lesson in part in the degree, it says, he will come in one day and destroy the devil's civilization. Come and destroy the... Pause out. Then why did God make devil? Answer: to show forth and prove his power, that he was all wise and righteous, and he could make a devil and give the devil that was weak and wicked, and give the devil power to rule the planet for 6,000 years, and also come and destroy the devil and pause out. Give the devil power to rule for 6,000 years. Give the power. The devil is weaker. We're going to give the devil power to rule 6,000 years. And then come and destroy the devil in one day without falling victim to a civilization. Otherwise, to show and prove that Allah is a God, always has been, always will be. So therefore, if that's a show and prove that Allah is a God, always has been, always will be, so before it says that, it says that he will come and destroy the devil in one day without falling victim to the devil's civilization. Otherwise, to show and prove that Allah is a God, always has been, always will be. So before it says Allah is a God, always has been, always will be, guess what you got to do? You got to destroy the devil's civilization. So it says in the next degree, do you hope to live to see the day when the gods will take the devil into hell in the very near future? Come on now. Hell ain't no place in the ground. See what I'm saying? Hell is a physical living condition. So, anyway, I can't even speak on that because that's something that's private, and we need to have a private meeting to speak about that degree. You know what I'm saying? But I got a science for that too. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, gods ain't even gonna come together and listen because you scared to take the devil off your planet. You need the devil on your planet just so you could keep this dichotomy going on, as if you can't be God without the devil. It says, why did God make devil? To show forth and prove his power, that he was all wise and righteous, that he could make a devil to rule the earth for 6,000 years, then come and destroy the devil in one day without falling victim to the devil's civilization. Not to keep the devil's civilization around. It says without falling victim to the devil's civilization. Otherwise, it show and prove that Allah's God always has been and always will be. But you can't say you always will be until you complete a mission, which is to destroy the devil's civilization. That has to happen before you can say Allah's God always has been and always will be. See? So once you show and prove that you can make a devil and destroy that devil, until you destroy that devil, you can't say Allah will, is the God always has been and always will be. You can say he always has been, past tense, but you can't say he always will be until you complete that task. And I'm going to land my plane on that. Peace.